thinking about what happens when our lives are over. We talk about the world to come, but it's a mystery which none of us can ever understand. We do not really believe that there is a heaven where we will all exist along with all of our old ones, but we do believe that our souls are eternal. My sister Barbara has passed on. She has not passed away. She is still somewhere. Her soul continues to exist. She is immortal. Over a year ago, Barbara and I talked about what she wanted and what she didn't want at the time of her passing. She had specific ideas and gave me specific directions. And I promised her that I would make sure that her wishes were honored. She was clear that she did not want a funeral service in a funeral home. Check that one off. She wanted her family and friends to gather and celebrate her life. So today we're going to check that one off. I don't think Alan or Barbara could have anticipated such a large group, so we thank you for that. In Judaism, we recite the Shema every day. It proclaims the oneness of God. The Shema is the centerpiece of the daily morning and evening prayer services. It is considered by some the most essential prayer in all of Judaism. It's an affirmation of God's singularity and his kingship, and his daily recitation is regarded by traditionally observant Jews as a biblical commandment. So if you can find it in your books, and if you'd like to join me, Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Hear, O Israel, the Lord is our God, the Lord is one. This verse is followed by one line of text that is traditionally recited in an undertone. Baruch Shem Kavod Malchusah Le'olam Va'ed. In English, blessed is the name of God's glorious kingdom forever and ever. The remainder of the Shema prayer is taken from 3 biblical sources. It reads, "You shall love the Lord your God with all your heart and with all your soul and with all your might. Take to heart these instructions with which I charge you this day. Impress them upon your children. Recite them when you stay at home and when you are away, when you lie down and when you rise up. Bind them as a sign on your hand and let them serve as a symbol on your forehead. Inscribe them on the doorposts of your house and on your gates." When a loved one passes, we recite the mourner's Kaddish. The Kaddish is also recited for 11 months after the passing and on the anniversary of the death of a loved one. There's sometimes a question as to why we don't recite it for 12 months, and I read somewhere that if you have to recite the Kaddish for 12 months, it probably wasn't a really good person that you were reciting it for. So that's why we do 11 months. The Kaddish does not mention death. It is said in honor of the deceased. The Kaddish has been said for nearly 2,000 years to honor and commemorate parents who have passed away. It is one of the most widely recognized prayers of the Jewish faith and is one of our fundamental customs, reflecting on life, tradition, and family. Reciting the mourner's Kaddish is one of Judaism's greatest mitzvahs, or good deeds. And technically, a mitzvah is not just a good deed, it's a commandment in the Bible. My sister would approve that I'm using a translation that refers to God, but whose pronouns are not he and him. I welcome you to join me, first in Hebrew and then in English for the mourner's Kaddish. Yid Gadal v'Yishkadash Shemei Rabba v'Yamal Divra Hirutei v'Yamlik Malkutei v'Chai Echon v'Yom Echon v'Chai Dechol Beit Yisrael Ba'Galav V'Zman Karim V'Yimeru Amen. Yeheshmei Rabba V'Varach Le'olam U'Me'omaya. Yitparak V'Yishtabak V'Yitpa'ar V'Yitraman V'Yitnaseh V'Yit Hadar V'Yit Haleh V'Yit Halal Shmei Dekudashal B'Richu Le'olam Minchol B'Chatav V'Shiratav Tushbachatav V'Nechematav Dam Mirom V'Alma V'Yimeru Amen. Yehi Shalom Arava Min Shemaya V'chayim Aleinu V'al Kol Yisrael V'imru Amen. Osei Shalom B'imramav. Hu Yaseh Shalom Aleinu V'al Kol V'imru Amen. In English, glorified and sanctified be God's great name throughout the world, which God has created according to God's will. May God establish God's kingdom in your lifetime and during your days, and within the life of the entire house of Israel, speedily and soon, and we say, Amen. May God's great name be blessed forever and to all eternity. Blessed and praised, glorified and exalted, extolled and honored, adored and lauded be the name of the Holy One. Blessed be God, beyond all the blessings and hymns, praises and consolations that are ever spoken in the world, and we say, Amen. May there be abundant peace from heaven and life for us and for all Israel, and we say, Amen. God who creates peace in God's celestial heights, may God create peace for us and for all Israel, and we say, Amen. There's an old story, as Jewish people always have old stories, about a Jewish child who attends a church service and comes home and asks her parents, why don't we have any beautiful prayers like the 23rd Psalm? Well, some people are surprised to learn that the 23rd Psalm dates back to the Jewish tradition. And I will now recite this, and you may please join me. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He makes me to lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside still waters. He restores my soul. He leads me in paths of righteousness for his name's sake. Even though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for you are with me. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me. You prepare a table before me in the presence of my enemies, and anoint my head with oil. My cup overflows. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of the Lord forever. Amen. Psalm 23 tells us to fear no evil, and that God is with us, even when life gets difficult. The final three verses are yet another powerful reminder of the goodness of God and God's love in our lives. But God reminds us that even in the shadow of death, the Lord offers comfort. As part of our Yom Kippur Day of Prayer, there's a separate service called Yizkor, which my mother, in her direct way, used to call the service for the dead. It's really called a service of remembrance. Yizkor is a time to remember your loved ones who are no longer with us. This poem is recited at Yizkor and is called We Remember Them. Please join me and respond with We Remember Them. At the rising of the sun and as it's going down, we remember them. At the opening of the buds and in the rebirth of spring, we remember them. At the blueness of the skies and in the warmth of summer, we remember them. At the rustling of the leaves and in the beauty of the autumn, we remember them. At the beginning of the year and when it ends, we remember them. As long as we live, they too will live, for they are now a part of us. We remember them. When we are weary and in need of strength, we remember them. When we are lost and sick at heart, we remember them. When we have decisions that are difficult to make, we remember them. When we have joy and we crave to share it, we remember them. When we have achievements that are based on theirs, we remember them. For as long as we live, they too will live. For they are now a part of us, and we say, we remember them. The Jewish faith is one of honor and remembrance for those who have passed on and who now live in our memory. This past spring, at Barbara's 75th birthday party, I said that while we think we live in the present, we really live in a world of memory. It may be a little too existential, but even now as I speak, as we gather here to express our love for Barbara, my words and your words about Barbara now live forever in our memories. My sister became an adult at a crossroads of change in our country. Barbara and Rick are 2 years apart, and I was born 5 years later. Although they're 2 years apart, Barbara's college days and Rick's were completely different. The traditions and roles of men and women were changing. Barbara became a feminist before that term became popular. She believed in equal rights and opportunities, not only for women, but for everyone. What made Barbara special is that not only did she believe in these ideals, but she lived her life for them. Many people talk about ideals and lofty goals and think about how the world could be a better place. I always admired my sister because she believed this. Not only did she believe this, but she acted upon it. She helped and cared for so many people from so many different backgrounds in so many different ways. In Hebrew we say, may her memory be a blessing. For all of you here, please think of Barbara and please recite with me, may her memory be a blessing. Thank you. Who's next?